Welcome to Out There. I'm Papa Joey Stay.
And I'm Uncle Tim Rice.
In this series, we explore the unexplained
and the paranormal.
While I'm somewhat of a skeptic,
I'm a full-on believer.
Together, we take a deep dive into all things that could be considered out there.
We discuss everything paranormal, from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and more.
Join us as we unravel the mysteries behind the stories
and decide for ourselves
if there is something more out there.
The phenomenon of receiving messages, signs, or physical items from deceased loved ones is a deeply personal and often comforting experience for many. While the interpretation of these occurrences varies widely based on individual beliefs, cultural backgrounds, and personal experiences. Join Papa Joey and Uncle Tim as they share countless stories, some personal, as how people find solace in what they perceive as connections from beyond.
Hey guys,
Woo.
Welcome. I'm Papa Joey.
I'm Uncle Tim. We have a great show for you today, man. How's everyone doing? Oh, we have a few on already.
Yeah, there's a few on. So I did see your mom's on there.
Hey, Mom.
And Peace 333. Hello there.
Hey.
And Christine's on.
Hi, Christine. Hi, Sandy.
Scottish Outlooker. Shrine.
Right.
I can't. Shrine. No, Siren. It's really small.
Yeah, everyone tell us where you're from. And
Siren Ben Ali. Mama Lisa's on. Sandy D's on. And Chris LaPratt is on.
Hey, Chris.
Our good friend. Man.
Glad to have you on. You're going to like this show, I think.
Yeah, anxious to get him back on the show.
Chris is in Phoenix. Where's
Tunisia? That's where.
Tunisia. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Carolina.
North Carolina.
Awesome. Shout out to, I know we got Europe popping on here in a minute. Pretty sure.
Yeah, and Christine's in Ohio.
Hi, Christine.
And Peace 333 is in France.
Oh, sweet.
North Africa. In North Africa. Yeah, Tunisia. Am I saying it right? Is it Tunisia?
Yeah. I think it's Tunisia. Awesome. Well,
yeah, it's kind of a personal topic, I think, for most people that have experienced this in their lives. And I'm bringing on a special guest today. Anyway, it's my daughter, and she had lost her husband a couple years ago to pancreatic cancer. And so I get emotional with this stuff. Anyway, so to help her through her grieving process, she started a TikTok page that has done really, really well. And she's just documented signs and stuff that she's received from her late husband that helped her through her process. And if you're fans of ours that might go back to our Truth About Beer days, Michelle handled our social media stuff. And so a lot of people were introduced to us through her, because she was the one that did pretty much all the communicating through our social media. And, it was great. So anyway, without further ado, you might remember Michelle from that. And I'm going to bring her in, and hopefully her sound is as good as it was last night, because we did the test last night. So here she is. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Can you guys hear me today?
Oh, yeah. How the heck are you?
Good. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing great, babe.
Good. And I apologize. I do have 6 dogs.
That's all right.
Give me 1 second. 1 second.
Mine are asleep on the couch.
Here, I'll pull you out till you come back. My dog sleeps during the whole thing. So Christine says hello, Michelle, when she comes on, and I was going through cancer treatment pretty much through the first part of the year, and I finished up in June. And I was trying to do updates on how that was going, and in that process, I lost a lot of people, and so I quit doing my updates because I had, I guess you'd call it survivor's guilt, and
Yeah.
and one of those is Christine's husband, and I'm so sorry, Christine. Because I know you always commented on my page when I posted, and I really felt that one, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to get emotional in this episode, but
Yeah, you already have it.
too late.
So my brother died. I can't remember now how many years
It'll
ago.
bring Michelle.
Created cancer, and
Okay.
I guess my mom will tell me in a minute how long ago it was, but it's, I guess all of us have stories of people we're losing, like one after the other, with cancer, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad, Joey, you're doing so well, man. Just last time I saw you, you had all that fur on your head, on your face, and it just
I was
made me
bald
wanna
everywhere,
cry, man. You
and
had,
all that. So
for a while, he had no eyebrows and nothing, and I wanted to shave my head in support of you, but yeah, I'm so glad to see your furry face, dude. I'm so happy for you, and
it's good to have
thanks for
some
everyone
scruff.
that supported and
Yeah.
backed and prayed and everything for Joey, because that was a rough time, and it was hard to watch you go through that. And I know
Yeah.
I had it easy. Like I said, I lost the band I've been working with. We lost our drummer, and there goes that.
there, yeah.
It keeps moving on me. There, I want to have that nice half circle there in the middle.
You went through a whole lot while you're going through a whole lot.
Just people. I'm a good friend of mine in Arizona. Lost both of his brother-in-laws, one on right after Christmas and another one just a couple months ago, and that was all cancer. And then our drummer,
Cancer's a beast.
yeah, I mean, you lost your husband to cancer, and
I just recently lost my mother-in-law to cancer.
That's right. Yeah,
And my mom said Kelly died 7 years ago with pancreatic cancer. So
yeah, your mom and I had a good connection after I lost Jason. When we went to your Halloween party, your mom and I had a really good connection because we both, with your brother passing away with pancreatic cancer and Jason passing away from pancreatic cancer, we had something to connect to.
wow.
right.
Yeah.
And Chris, our buddy in Scotland, he lost his mother too 6 months ago, cancer. So, so yeah, it was more survivor's guilt. The reason I quit doing my updates, I hated coming on, feeling all chipper about how well I was doing when others weren't. And so anyway, but I am thankful.
All right, so screw cancer. We don't like cancer. Let's talk about the good thing about the bittersweet thing about this.
So today's topic, we're talking about connections from beyond. And so here are some of the signs and messages that we'll be covering. So, and I know this first one, Michelle has a story about that, but feathers. So many individuals report finding feathers, particularly white ones, in unexpected places. This is often interpreted as a sign of the presence of a loved one. For instance, a person might find a feather on a day that they're feeling particularly low, which they interpret as a comforting message from the departed. Another is songs and music. So people frequently mention hearing specific songs that remind them of their loved ones playing on the radio or in a store. And this can feel like a direct communication, especially if the song holds significant meaning. For example, a daughter might hear her mother's favorite tune just after thinking about her, which she sees as a way of her mother still saying how much she loves her. And then you have your coincidental events that some individuals report experiencing coincidental events that seem too significant to be random. For example, a person might see a butterfly shortly after recalling a loved one who adored nature. And these moments often provide comfort, suggesting that their loved one is watching over them. So we're going to kind of cover more than those, but what was it?
Start.
Let's see. Others from the wings of an angel, of their angel. Yeah.
And yeah.
So Michelle, I mean, there's more things I'm going to share here, but I kind of want to start with your story and some of the signs and stuff that you have interpreted to be messages from your departed husband.
Okay. So I did want to kind of start this off with, unfortunately, the grieving process, because I think a lot of times that's when we discover and realize that the things that come into our lives are signs. Some of us can be so deep in grief that we can't even recognize the signs that our loved ones are giving us. And so actually, I kind of want to back up, because I feel like being with Jason, my late husband, I felt like I was getting a lot of breadcrumbs to lead up to where I needed to be to get where I'm at today. And with that being said, after he passed and knowing all that, I didn't want to sit in my grief. I did not want to. I needed to figure out what was on the other side. And so I did a lot of deep dive into YouTube and found a lot of basically mediums that really helped me realize, like, we can still communicate with our loved ones on the other side. So that's where I started. And when that happened and you start opening yourself up, you realize the things that are coming to you are things that our loved ones on the other side are sending us. And so mine really started immediately. I did send you some pictures. I didn't know if you wanted to. I mean, I can give you guys a timeline, but
sure.
Yeah, just tell me. So, I'll pause quickly.
Yeah. So
this
was the very first sign. In fact, this was just a few days after Jason passed away. So he passed away in August 14th. I received a dragonfly. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because dragonflies are another one of those significant things that come to us as a sign from our loved ones on the other side. I've lived in this house for 6 years and we've never seen a dragonfly. And I say that, but maybe there really was one, but I just never noticed it. But the thing is, this one is, we went swimming, and this dragonfly just kept flying around us, and they finally landed on the tallest tree that we have and just sat there for 5 minutes and stared at us. And so to me, I know that was Jason coming to visit us and let us know that he was okay. And on that same day, in that same moment, my daughter and I were just kind of looking out, and all of a sudden we see a feather out of nowhere just drop to the ground. So that was another, like, very significant thing for us, that, okay, we are surrounded and that he is still here. Our loved ones are still here. Our angels are still here. And I think that was my eye opener, to be honest. And that's when I discovered, like, okay, I need to figure this out. Yeah. You can go to the next one. This one gets me really emotional. So, my daughter and her boyfriend, after Jason passed away, my daughter already lived with me. Her boyfriend moved in with us, and they had already had this trip planned to go to Disneyland for a week. And so it was going to be the first time that I was going to be home by myself for a whole week after the passing. And I was sitting outside and I was like, Jason, if you're here, I need you to send me a heart in the sky. And within 5 minutes, I received this heart in the sky. But what I didn't get to capture was the fact that this heart turned into a Mickey head, which to me, I was so blessed and thankful because I knew that he knew that they were going to Disneyland for a week and that he was reminding me I will be watching over them as well as I will be watching over you. So that's probably my favorite sign out of all of them.
That one's really cool. I mean, that heart is very prominent in there. And I could see how it could turn into a Mickey head.
It did. Cool. It really did. I wish I would have captured it, but I was just in such an awe moment that I was like, that really happened. Yep. And then you can go to the next one.
That's amazing.
Okay, so this is another big deal. Okay, so remember I told you guys there was little breadcrumbs that had come my way before all this, and one of them was Jason collecting a lot of stones, a lot of meaningful stones, and one of them was the rose quartz hearts, and we had them everywhere. In fact, up until even past his passing, we were still receiving Amazon packages of these little rose quartz hearts. So our wedding anniversary was in October, and I wanted to say, I think it was right around the time or the date of the party that we went to with Tim and Allison, their Halloween party. And I mentioned to Jason, I was like, okay, it's our anniversary. I want you to send me some hearts, preferably some pink hearts, because I know that's what we've been, dealing with. And so I go to your Halloween party, and I wore the most ridiculous costume, you guys. It wasn't like I didn't have anything fantastic. I literally had to make it from scratch. And somehow I won a prize. And so I remember Allison handing me this gift upside down. And when I turned it around, I was in awe, because I was like, oh my God, here's another thing that he delivered to me that I asked. And I don't think people realize, I don't know. It's not that people don't realize. I'm so blessed that I got to recognize that, because I knew that it was him. Out of all the gifts that I could have gotten, this was the one I got. So that was another big deal.
Confirmation.
That was another confirmation. Yeah. Yeah. I say if you're ever missing a loved one and you need, always ask them a question. Always ask them to send you something, but also be very mindful that it might be something so random that you wouldn't have expected it to be so obvious. And these were the things that I was receiving. And these are the things that I try to look out for. Oh, so this was Christmas. My daughter and I decided to take a picture in front of Jason's case. This case we made for him because he did have a lot of stones, and we wanted to showcase them. So we made this case for him. His ashes are in there as well. So next to me, you can see a picture of Jason. And after we took this picture, I noticed that there was a white mist in the video or in the picture.
Yeah.
And then that same day, he also gave us a gift in our freezer, which you can go to the next one. So we went to, if you guys don't know what this is, he used to vape. And so this is an old vape charger. And I went into the freezer, and randomly this was out plain day. There was I don't even know where this came from, because he stopped vaping, especially with those kind of chargers, a long time ago. I didn't even know where it was. That was
in your freezer.
In my freezer. Yeah. Wow. All right. So I'm going to say 5 months later, I was scrolling on Pinterest, and dragonflies are huge for me. I associate that with Jason. And so I was really struggling this day, and I was just going through Pinterest, and these 3 dragonflies on top, they're different posts. They're not the same one, but they were coming one after another. And as I'm reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, this literally is like a sentence. This is Jason telling me, that my story's not over with. Just, you need to continue. Like, I'm going to be with you. And I thought that was a really cool message that he gave to me. And then 2 days later, I bought myself a tarot card, and my daughter and I did this reading together. And I'm so sorry, I can't really read this, but because I can't see it this close. But
you want me to read it?
Yeah, if you can, because it makes sense, but it doesn't.
Okay. First one says, I have a new understanding. I had to leave that way. Then I have to get closer on this one.
I know it's really hard to see.
If I'd only known
if I would have known, said I would have done it differently. Yeah.
Yeah, if I would have known about life, I would have done it differently. And the reason why this one struck me so hard was because Jason was also an alcoholic before he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And I think that was a message to let me know, like, if I would have known what the outcome was, I would have changed. And so to me, that was another message that he was giving to me to let me know that. Because there for a long time, he didn't want to admit it. And so it was a kind of a struggle. And I think he knew that I needed some kind of validation that he knew, and that he was going to finally admit to me that he was an actual alcoholic. So that's my interpretation of that.
I know it was really tough watching him waste away as he did. But I think that period of time when he gave up drinking because he just couldn't, and until his passing, was really a gift to you.
Yeah, and he knew. Yeah, and he knew that. I mean, when we went into the hospital the first time before we found out he had pancreatic cancer, he had already told me that he was going to stop drinking, and he did for a week. He did, and then we went to the hospital, and then shortly after that is when we found out he had cancer. And that was when his life changed, obviously forever, with alcohol. And I am super grateful that I got 2.5 years with actual Jason and not the alcoholic.
That's a blessing.
So it is a blessing.
Yeah, dragonflies are amazing.
I love dragonflies. So I do have one story about a dragonfly, and maybe somebody else can, I don't know if their interpretation is going to be the same, but I was told that, so there's different meanings on dragonflies, but each dragonfly has a color of its own, and that can also represent. So even if you haven't lost a person, if you haven't lost a loved one, but you're still seeing dragonflies constantly, take a look at their colors, because what that also represents is the chakras. And so if you keep constantly seeing a blue dragonfly, think about your throat chakra. And it's really interesting, because that was another thing that I really loved about this journey, was learning different things within the spirituality realm when it comes to chakras and how to open up. And so this has been, as much as it's so sad, it's been such a blessing for me to continue my life and live the way that I live, humbly, gratefully. So there is a lot of things that you can look into that will make your life a lot more positive.
I think Tim has a dragonfly story to share too.
Morgan,
since we're talking dragonflies again.
This was yesterday. Morgan said, "Dad, you're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What, honey?" And she's like, "So I got in the garage and I was about to pull out, and she goes, all of a sudden I started thinking about Tyson. And I don't know why I started thinking about Tyson, but as I got in the garage and got in my car, a dragonfly came into the garage and was right in front of her window on her windshield, and it kept bumping her windshield, flying into her car, and then hitting the hood of her car. And she's like, wow, that's really weird. So she pulled out and went around, shut the garage door, came back, and the dragonfly came back to her car after she pulled out and kept just hitting her windshield. And she's like, Dad, I just started crying. She says, I knew it was Tyson right away.
Aw.
And so we're in Miss McKinney here, and I haven't seen a dragon. We've been here 3 years. I haven't seen a dragonfly. We're not around a lot of water. I haven't seen a dragonfly anywhere around here. It's kind of weird. I mean, we have fireflies and hummingbirds and stuff like that, but the fact that this thing just kept like pounding on her window, hitting her window. I've
Getting her
seen
attention.
dragonflies. Yeah, I've seen dragonflies land on, the thing out at the lake, the weeds and the the trees and the stuff in the lake, but I've never seen one just like pounding. And this was like pounding her windshield. It was really incredible. Sorry.
That's your dogs this time, huh?
Yeah.
Well, now it's their.
Why don't you, before I go to the next photo,
I'm sorry.
why don't you tell everybody about your TikTok, those that have TikTok, because you always deliver some really great messages on there and share some great experiences. So I think it would be very cool to share that page with everybody.
Yeah, so you can find me. It's at Shelly BS13. BS. It's a kind of a running joke because it puts both my maiden names together. My late husband's last name started with a B, and so we always had everything as BS. So it's Shelly BS13.
Cool. Yeah, check it out, especially if you're going through a grieving process. A lot of really good, I would say heart lifting information on there.
Sorry.
All right, let's go on to the next one then.
Okay.
See where we're at in this story.
Oh, this was such a random high. I was at work and I just saw this, and this could have been anybody, to be honest with you, but to me, I took it as Jason saying hi to me because I wasn't the only one that saw it. But I thought it was a pretty cool thing to capture in the sky. But yeah. Okay. So I got to explain this one. All right, you guys. So after 8 months of Jason's passing, I decided that I was ready to start dating. And this is kind of another dragonfly story. My daughter, her boyfriend and I were going to dinner, and we were on the freeway. And I mean, it wasn't like we were going 60 miles. We were probably going like 40 miles an hour. And this dragonfly was like up against our car as well, driving with us. And I'm downloading this dating app. Well, okay, so I download this dating app. I start talking to Jimmy, and within 24 hours, we met and we deleted the app, and we've been together ever since, and now we're married. Well, within 3 months after dating him, I wanted to know if Jason had anything to do with him sending him my way. And so I at that time, I was writing in my journal to Jason every single night. And I said, hey, if you sent Jimmy to me, I need you to send me a sign in the biggest way, like use his name in the biggest way you can. And his real name is James. And I had gone past this sign probably like 3 or 4 times, not realizing it, until one day I looked up and I saw Sweet James. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like he sent validation that he did help bring Jimmy and I together, which was cool. So I feel like our loved ones, they're always there to help us. And I feel like
Yes, they are.
they're always going to help us connect with other people in our lives. And so I knew that this was true. And that, yeah, I thought that was really cool. No jealousy. That's what's so cool. There's no jealousy. He wants me to be happy. Okay. So, I had moved my wedding band from Jason from my left to my right, and I had them on for several months. And one day they started irritating me. And so I took it off, and obviously you could see on the right hand, side that my finger had blistered, cracked, whatever. Well, after it healed, I put it back on. About 2 weeks later, I got engaged. And then 2 weeks after that, this happened again. And so at that point, I realized that Jason's probably telling me, you don't need to wear these rings anymore. You're starting a new life. And that's how I took that. Yeah, too many coincidences. I don't believe in coincidence, you guys. I feel like everything is synchronized. And I feel like that we as humans are all we repeat patterns. And so our loved ones are here to help us and kind of put us on a path to stop repeating the things that aren't going to be good for us. And I feel like this was a great example of Jason being, stop wearing them. Like, you don't need them anymore. And I took that as a sign, and I've never worn them since.
Yeah, I think it's more confirmation than it is coincidence or.
Yeah. So I started a new job, and so we have work trucks, and I had not seen this work truck sitting in front of my office for almost a month. And then I looked up and I saw this, and I was like, if you guys to me, it looks like Jason.
Yeah.
And to me, he helped me get this job because not only was, I know the dating world is really hard for a lot of people, and I feel very blessed in the situation that I was given to be able to find Jimmy I told Jason that I didn't want to kiss a bunch of frogs to find my prince, and I didn't have to. So that was another thing that I know that he helped bring Jimmy to me. But I also know that he helped me find my job, because I gave a month notice at my other job without finding another job. And I'm within 2 weeks of having to literally find a job. And I've been searching, but this was the only place that asked me
interrupt you for just a second.
Oh, sure.
With that. So while I was trying to reach you to get you to pop on here, I thought I'd call you, and it called your old work, the number that automatically dialed for you.
Like, hey, how's she doing?
Yeah, I didn't even say your name. I don't remember saying your name. I just said, hi, we're waiting on you. And she goes, waiting on who? And she said, are you calling for Michelle? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, this is her old work. And
that is too funny.
And we miss her, but make sure you tell her hi.
Yeah. It was a good job. I loved it.
You were there for a long time.
I saw this, and when I saw this, I immediately thanked Jason for helping me find this job.
Sure. Yeah. Confirmation.
So another confirmation. Yeah, I love these confirmations. And this should be kind of the last picture that I have a lot more, but I only gave my dad a few. So Jason used to work for a company called Invitation Homes. They were phenomenal during his whole process. They kept him on payroll until the day he died. And I've never have seen a vehicle. I've never seen any advertisement of his work. I moved an hour away from where I lived and with my husband, and I was driving to work one day, and this van pulls in front of me, and my mouth dropped, or my jaw dropped. I was just like, okay. During that time, I feel like he was around me a lot more. I don't feel him as much now. Which is very understandable. Life changes, and he doesn't need to check in as often as he once did. The most recent one was his 3-year anniversary, which was on the 14th of August. We went to bed, and Gunner, my one dog, who was super close to him, wanted off the bed. So my husband was going to take him outside. This was like 3:00 in the morning, and Gunner didn't want to go outside. He just wanted to lay in the kitchen. And I had this overwhelming presence that someone was here, but wasn't going to enter our bedroom out of respect. But for Gunner, that they had such a bond that it was so amazing that after 10 minutes of him laying in the kitchen, he comes back in the bedroom to get back on the bed.
Wow.
But yeah, yeah. So that's my signs with Jason. Like I said, I don't get as much more from him these days, but now I'm getting a lot more from my mother-in-law, who recently just passed the day before 4th of July. Yeah, so the 3rd of July. She comes and visits quite often, which has been, I'm trying to help his dad through the grieving process, but not in a very direct way of trying to get him to look at signs, because he's so deep in grief that he's going through all the right appropriate things that he should be going through. But we had a really special moment last week when I was actually telling him about some of the signs that I had been receiving from Tina, and he took that as an awe moment. So I hope one day his grief won't be so heavy and that he'll be able to start to communicate with her.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yep. I feel like sometimes I'm put in, well, not feel. I keep saying feel because it's not a feeling, it's a knowing. I know for a fact I've been set on my path in this way to be where I'm at today to help. And all I want to do is just share my experiences and see if it's something that's going to help somebody else.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of followers on your TikTok, so I think you have really helped a lot of people, you know.
I hope.
I love watching
Very
you
cool.
pop up every day. It's so cool. I
Oh,
try to
thank you guys.
I try to like them all, but it's overwhelming. But it's
Yeah.
so good to see you smile.
Oh, thank you
Love
guys.
your TikToks.
Well, thank you.
So one of my favorite things that's I always see as a sign and is that is the animal thing, you know.
Mhm.
So like my mom collected giraffes. She loved giraffes, and you know her giraffe collection was crazy of all that stuff. And after her passing, all the giraffes that we saw, or that would just randomly just little giraffe
yeah.
things, you know, that would pop in was
Yeah.
very cool. In fact,
And you know what?
did you get a giraffe tattoo too?
I did not get a draft tattoo, but what's funny about grandma and her signs to me, whenever I get a draft from her, it's not an actual animal. And let me explain. Whenever I think our loved ones will send you signs that you're going to recognize for you because it's very specific to you. And I love crafting. Crafting is one of my favorite things to do. And so whenever my grandma pops in to say hi, the draft is always something out of something creative, or another animal that's like a dog that is getting groomed and they groomed it like a giraffe. Like they're the most random
Can you read
draft
that?
images that I've gotten from grandma.
Yeah.
Those
You
ones are
wrote
pretty
lots
cool.
of journals because Christine says you should write a book.
Yeah. Ah, that would be a next
The other
level
thing,
step.
I mean, I was into collecting, or I can't say I still do, but for a long time I collected frogs, different things. And so one of the gifts I got from my mom, and this was back early on in our marriage, which I've been married for 46 years. Sure.
Bless your heart.
But anyway, Mom gave me these frogs one year, and the batteries are dead in them, but if you pull them apart and then as they come together, they make this big smooching sound if the batteries were good. So
That's
we got to
cool.
figure out how to get in there and change the batteries. But shortly after she passed, I'd forgotten completely about these frogs, you know, because I don't know. You have so many frogs that, you know, you have only so many places you can display things and all that. But anyway, shortly after she passed, all of a sudden, late at night, or always seemed about time that Lisa and I were getting ready for bed, all of a sudden would hear this big old smooching sound, and it continued on and on. And I kept accusing Lisa. I said, I think you got a sound on your phone that makes a smooching sound when you're getting messages or something. She goes, no, I don't. You do. No, I don't. But, I was convinced that it was her phone. So one night I hear the sound and I said, no, there goes your phone again. And she goes, well, no, I forgot my phone. It's downstairs. And I said, well, then maybe it's mine, or maybe I have that backwards. For whatever reason, I remember I went downstairs. It must have been my phone. So I went downstairs to get my phone. And when I was gone, I came back up and she had this look on her face. I still heard it, And I said, well, gosh, we've got to find this. And so we were looking all over behind things. And I finally, behind one of the nightstands, I see the heads of these frogs down there. And again, mind you, the only way I could ever get them to make that sound is to pull them apart and have them come back together. But they were making the smooching sound.
Wow.
All on their own. And I realized that it was a message from my mom. And I thanked her. I thanked her and I said, I really appreciate you, giving us these signs and messages that you still love us. But gosh darn it, we got to get some sleep, We can't have this thing waking us up. And that's the last time we heard them. And they haven't made the sound since. I can't make them make the sound.
She just wanted recognition that you were there.
You knew. Yeah.
I'll leave you alone now. Just
So I really miss the sound now. So I got to figure out how to change the batteries.
You need to get a ringtone or a little thing on your so every time I text you or somebody texts you.
Yeah. And then the other sign, and I know Tim's got some stories about this type of sign too, and I saw Chris had mentioned some earlier on in the discussion about coins, but it was my birthday, and this was just a few years back.
Yeah,
and for lunchtime, I used to go out and walk. That was back when I was a lot thinner, which was just a few years ago. But I would go out and do a couple, miles of walking during my lunch period. And this was on my birthday, and I just happened to be strolling along, and I was walking through a Safeway parking lot, and a little shiny coin on the ground caught my eye, and I looked down, and it was a penny. And I've always been told, if it's tails up, you got to leave it alone. But if it's heads up, then you're okay to pick the coin up, And it was heads up. And so I pick it up in this penny. I'm looking at it. And the dang thing was my birth year, which is 1958. That's not a penny that you find randomly that, on your birthday. And so I just got that automatic feeling that that was my mom wishing me a happy birthday. And so I still have that penny, and I have it hidden away somewhere. And I hope it's not hidden too good, because I do need to find it. But we've moved a few times since then, and you know how things keep getting moved around. But yeah. And so I know Tim has had some coin experiences within his household.
Oh man. I mean, you don't just look in your pocket, man. There's no 1958 penny in your pocket right now. There's no way. I mean, what are the odds? That's crazy. So, my son passed away with heroin overdose 10 years ago. I can't remember how many years ago. And so he had a drug problem. He had an addiction problem, and he stole quite a few things from the house to sell and front for his habit. And so after he went to Teen Challenge and he got clean for a year, and he really sparkled up, and he, he had this come to Jesus, and he did so well. He made the comment to Allison. He goes, "Mom, I'm so sorry for all the things I've done, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but if it takes me the rest of my life, if I have to pay you back nickel and dime, I will pay you back for everything I've ever taken from you." And didn't think a lot about it right then. And then one night, Allison says, "Honey, something's wrong." And I'm like, "What?" And she says, "I don't know, something's wrong." And we go down, and Jordan had just he had just passed. And we got into the door, and I put my hand on his body, and I started to pray, and it felt warm. And I'm like, well, maybe. So anyway, I tried, to bring him back and everything. But the day after he passed away, he was in the hospital for 24 hours before they took him off the machines and everything. The day after, we started finding, I am not kidding, a quarter, a nickel, a penny, and a dime in a little stack. In window seals, I found one in the backyard out by the barbecue grill. It was a stack of coins. And we kept finding these oh, I'm getting chills, man.
Yeah.
We keep finding, and not just the stacks. I think we found like 3 total stacks, but maybe a nickel was missing, but there were at least 3 stacks. And then throughout the next months, I mean, everywhere I looked, there was coins and window seals, and I mean, we don't walk around with, we don't have change on us. We're not a change people. We have credit cards and stuff. We don't have any change in our house. So she goes, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a little jar, and I'm going to start putting these coins in this jar. Every time we find coins, I'll put coins in this jar." And I'm not kidding. It wasn't 6 months, and there was probably about an inch worth of coins in this jar. And that's just fun. And one was out by the waterfall, by the pool. And I'm like, I'm not walking around. I'm not spilling money out there. I don't throw coins in my pool for my kids to go. It's just really, really weird. And this is around the house. You see him like Joey saw, you find him in the parking lot and everything. And I'm like, I don't put too much into that. But when these things are showing up, and like I go out to grab a screwdriver and there's a penny on top of the toolbox, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense, man.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. So I asked, I can't remember. I think it was Jordan's preacher from Teen Challenge. And I said, "We just keep finding these coins." And he said, "Haven't you ever heard the term pennies from heaven?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you know what that means?" I'm like, "No, I have no idea what it." But how many people have heard this, right? We've all heard it, right? Pennies from heaven. Does anybody?
Every time it rains, it rains.
Does anybody know where that phrase came from or how that came about? And he said, he's giving you pennies from heaven to show that he's with you, and he's remorseful or whatever, and he's paying you back, and he loves you, and he feels bad about what he did or whatever. I don't know how to think about it. All I know is we have a little jar full of coins, and it happened for a long, long time, and now it's gone. But for a long time, I was really losing my freaking mind. I walk out in the morning and open up the doors and go to turn on the pool pump or whatever, and there's coins. And I'm like, dude, this makes no sense at all. And it happened so point to where we, like, after a while, it was like, "Oh, hey, look, I just got a dime out of the bathroom on the toilet. All right, put it in the jar." Come on. I mean,
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And you can't tell people, you can't prove it. You can't justify it to anyone. There's no way to just like, "Hey, check out what's happening to me and expect anyone to comprehend it, because I don't comprehend it myself. And it's
Yeah, and I agree with you, Tim. Sometimes it is a little difficult to tell my story because a lot of people do look at it as, well, that's a coincidence. But here's my thought is, if it feels, whatever feels right for you, feels right for you. You don't have to validate anything. Your feelings are validated, and that's all you need to know.
yeah.
It's
When
cool
I
to
saw
share.
that, yeah, when I see that dime, I just I feel like he's right over my shoulder going, "I
Yeah,
love you, Dad." And
yeah,
whether that dime was from him or not, I got that feeling. And there's no reason a dime should have been on my Craftsman toolbox. There's no reason at all. But what comes after seeing a coin is that feeling, and it's like that
yeah,
to me is confirmation.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
explain that to anyone. You can't expect anyone to understand or believe that that's really happening. I mean, I can't believe it's really happening, but oh my God, I'm a total believer now. And pennies from heaven, man, it must be they're sending you pennies from heaven, and I still don't know where that phrase came from. I heard that when I was a small kid.
Well, it was a song. I mean, it's a song that I remember.
I think it
Every
was an
time it
expression.
rains, it rains.
Pennies from.
I mean, it's
I
from the
think there was
30s
an
or
expression before it was a song. But anyway,
probably. I mean, that's where most songs come from.
amazing.
Or expressions, you know.
I got one more story I'll tell you about my papa when he passed away. And he was in my bedroom, and I went down to him and I said, "Papa, will you do me a favor?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "If there's any way that you could give me a sign or show me that you're with me after you pass, will you do it?" And he says, "Well, yeah, if God lets me do that, and if I'm able to do it, yeah." I said, "All right, you promised me. Let me know you're with me. Give me a sign, and so I know that you're here with me." And he said, "Okay." So um, a short time after he passed away, I wore, I was kind of a nerd. I was a fisherman, a hunter fisherman. I wore a Leatherman in a leather pouch on my belt every day of my life.
That doesn't sound like a nerd. That
Well,
sounds like a hard
it
ass to
was
me.
kind of nerdy, but I mean, every morning I get up, my Leatherman's on my belt, and then I take it off. It's like, I've seen those like, what's that show? Um, Raymond, he takes off his wedding ring every night and he sets it on the stand before he goes to bed. And I'm like, I don't know how anybody could do that. How can you take off your wedding ring and sit it on the dresser and then go to bed and everything? But what I did is I took off my Leatherman every day and I put it right on my dresser. And so one day I get up and I reach up there for my Leatherman, and my Leatherman's gone. And I'm like, all right, who took it? And so I asked Allison, I'm like, all right, somebody took my Leatherman. And I mean, I'm pretty serious about my Leatherman. And it's gone, and I start looking through drawers and looking behind stuff and looking under the bed and everything, and I go and I hit every one of my kids. I said, "Who took my Leatherman? I don't care who took it, just I need it back." Nobody took it. They all denied it, and I'm like, "No way. Somebody's lying. Somebody did it." And I just it upset my whole it's weird. I can't explain it. So, after about 2 weeks, I'm like, all right, fine. It's gone. All right. I dropped it somewhere. I left it somewhere. I don't know where it is. And so I just have to face the fact that it's gone. And so one day, Allison wakes up and she says, "Do you smell that?" And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Somebody's making coffee." And I'm like, "I don't think we have coffee." And she goes, "No, I smell coffee." We went downstairs, and our coffee maker, which we didn't have any coffee, was completely brewed sitting on the counter full of coffee. And that's something Papa did every morning. And we're like, Alice and I are looking at each other like we're freaking nuts, or we're going nuts. And I'm like, what the heck is that all about? And she goes, I didn't make that coffee. I said, I didn't make that coffee. And it's not one of those ones where you can program to go off or whatever. It's a Mr. Coffee. You have to physically, manually make coffee. And we don't drink coffee. Papa drink coffee. So it blew my mind. And so after we settled down from that, I walked upstairs. I said, it had to be Papa. It had to be Papa. When I walked into my bedroom and I went to my dresser, guess what was sitting on top of my dresser right where I had left it? My Leatherman. And I just started bawling. I'm like, I don't think I fell on my knees. I think I went down on the bed and I started bawling. And I was like, thank you, God, that he was able to, he came back and he showed me, and he did what he said he would do if he could do it. And
that's amazing.
I mean, that's not coincidence. That's not juju. That's not witchcraft. That has nothing to do with any kind of belief system or anything. That's just fact. And there's no way you can deny that or pay it off to any other thing in the world that can happen. I mean, you can't justify it. You can't, there's no explanation for it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, Jason, it's okay. So when I moved in with Jimmy a little over a year after Jason's passing, but when I was living in the house, he would do the most off the wall stuff. And the other signs that we would receive from him were actually paranormal. I mean, he would try and open doors. He would use our Alexa to get a hold of us. He oh my gosh, he does more things now that I'm not in the house with Shay, but lights flickering. Like
it's the handprint after they painted.
The handprint on the ceiling twice. Wow. Twice. They have handprints on the ceiling. They had a party and everybody was outside, and she looked inside and saw somebody walk from the kitchen to our dining room. She went inside and nobody was in there. So things are so.
No, she has their friend. Their friend is totally freaked out every time he's over.
Yeah, and Mari. Jason was a trickster. Yeah, he's a trickster, and so he would definitely try and do his thing.
Yeah, Jordan would turn on faucets. We go downstairs and the faucet would be on downstairs. His picture would come off the wall and it wouldn't drop straight down. It would be on the other side of the room. I mean, ceiling fans would come on and go off, and it's like, all right. And after you understand it, accept it, you kind of like, it's fun. I mean, you enjoy it.
Yeah, it really is.
When you're first introduced to it, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, because you think you're going crazy, and you're like, this doesn't usually happen.
That was Jordan. And we were out at Six Flags one day, and I don't think this was the time that Joey was with us, but we were out at Six Flags one day, and everyone was riding rides and everything. And she says, and Allison says, I wish so much that Jordan could be here doing this with us. And all of a sudden, she's got a tattoo of a butterfly on her shoulder. A butterfly came and landed on her shoulder right where her tattoo was. And she goes, are you seeing this? And I turned around, and then she moved and it flew off. And she goes, I swear a butterfly just landed on my shoulder. I'm like, really? It came back and landed on her 2 more times.
Oh my God.
With the because she just brought up Jordan's name. So I think Tyson is operating with dragonflies. I think Jordan's operating with butterflies. I think he's they're using all these things, man. And it's like, they're all around you, but you have to be perceptive. You have to be aware. Because if you're not aware, it'll just pass you by, and you won't enjoy the experience of it.
Exactly. I wanted to go what Christine said about feeling her husband. Yeah. That you felt his hand on your back. Okay. So, okay. So I do have a story about that too. One day, one evening, I was laying in bed, and I was having a rough night, and then, I felt this vibrating kiss on my cheek. And so I knew for a fact that Jason was giving me a kiss on the cheek. So I physically have felt Jason around me too. that was pretty amazing too. A hug. I've even gotten a hug. I had my whole body vibrating with the hug.
And that takes a lot of energy, and it doesn't last as long.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely does take a lot of their energy to affect you.
And it takes a lot of energy for them to manifest and actually have physical. And it's very, very short, but it's when it happens, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody have visitation dreams?
Well, yeah, but that's another show for me.
No.
Yeah.
They're different.
My brother comes.
That would
to
be
me.
a whole good show, actually.
My brother comes to me all the time, and it's like,
because we've done our hour, so
I'm almost tired of it.
No.
But
Fun
you know
stuff,
what? I can't explain, and this is from the living, that Michelle hasn't given me shit for this
Cowboy shirt.
I can't even see it.
Oh, that's why.
What? You're coming back to Arizona. You better change that back.
Yeah, go Cowboys.
That's when in Rome. You know.
Hey,
No,
but how about them Diamondbacks, though?
Oh, yeah. They beat the crap out of the Rangers. So
yes, they did. This was fun.
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been
so
thank you guys for inviting me.
I want to say thank you to all the people that have joined us today, and I know you all have amazing stories, and I wish I could hear all of them because they impress me so much. But Michelle, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I mean, it's just it tickles me and gets me warm all inside. You know, I used to hate hearing about the stories, and now I smile. I don't feel sad anymore. I just smile because I thought it was just me, and I thought it only happened every once in a while, but it happens constantly, and it's all confirmation. And I appreciate everyone commenting and speaking about it. It's been a great topic.
It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So please, if you do have stories and comments about today's show, please leave it in our comments. Put it in the comments and be sure to give this show a thumbs up. And Michelle, don't go anywhere. I'm going to hide you, but don't leave yet. Okay.
Okay.
Love you.
All right. Love you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. And until then, that's Papa Joey.
And that happens to be Uncle Tim. And please, again, like, share, subscribe, and we'll be back again soon.
Take care, everyone.
I got to get to the right page here. Here we go. I love you guys.
See ya. Thanks for watching.
Hey, if you really enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up because that really helps the channel. And then share it.
Oh, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe.
Hey, hit that alert bell so you'll know when we post a new episode.
Or if we go live, you don't want to miss that.
Hey, let us know in the comments section what topics you'd like us to cover in the future.
And always, if you have a story you'd like to share, please let us know.
Until next time,
that's Papa Joy.
And that's Uncle Tim.
Beyond the realm of the known lies the mysteries of out there.